Does anyone have any suggestions for Queensguard?
Queensguard. Ooh.
Yeah, that's the other one people want to see buffed.
That's a tricky one.
Every card by 2.
Just buff all the Queensguard, and then you're good. I mean, I guess the issue with them is that they're too low tempo, right? The problem is that the meta is so high tempo, and I think that's also exacerbated issues with spies and issues with coin flip, is that now you have so many plays that feel very strong, so then the coin flip, it's harder to keep up, right? If people have a lot of kind of these bronze cards that are so high tempo, if you happen to have fewer, you can't keep up, so then the coin flip is more of an issue. And because cards now are worth like easily 12 points, bronzes, then the 13-point spies don't feel so bad. When you have a 13-point spy and most of your cards you're playing around 7 or 8, then it's fine. But when you have 13-point spies and you're playing bronzes for 12, 13, 14, 15 points, that's why spies, I think, became more of an issue. And the problem there is that you can't just make spies stronger, because if you make spies stronger, then everyone just runs like Scorch and stuff.
I think the biggest problem with Queensguard, and just kind of drawing back with Gwent's history, and because we have seen a couple patches where Queensguard has been pretty close to top tier. The biggest problem with Queensguard, ironically, is almost Ceres, which is really weird to say. So basically, the problem is there's not enough good ways to get Queensguards into the graveyard. And in the past, when we've seen Queensguards be pretty good, it was kind of before the change to Ceres. Once Ceres got changed, there were so efficient ways to use value from Bran in terms of branding Ceres, Olgierd, and Morkvarg that it soon became irrelevant to actually discard Queensguards with Bran. And once there's no reason to brand the Queensguards value-wise, there's just not really a way to play them and get them in the graveyard. I don't know. What do you guys think?
They should start the graveyard.
Because before they changed Ceres to be such a good brand target, and before you had these solid brand targets, Queensguards was mostly a way to get value out of using brands, but they've just completely lost that niche now.
But the problem is, right, if you put the Queensguards in the graveyard with Bran, then Bran is a super low tempo play, right?
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
that's also an issue as well. I don't know. I'd like to see Queensguard, I'd like to see them not just buffing cards, I'd like to see them adding new cards to support archetypes in place. So things like silvers and golds that support Queensguard would be nice. I don't know
what
Ceres
was kind of supposed to do, but it almost did the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Drake, for instance, like something more similar to Drake. Because if you get Drake off a couple times, Queensguard can be good, but the problem is just the tempo, right? That's the issue that deck will always face.
Yeah, and you can no longer Sigdrift at Drake either, isn't that right?
Yeah,
I think she only targets clan units.
I wouldn't know. I've never played Drake since this update.
No, but
I didn't play Drake before the update.
It's a similar issue actually with Holger Blackhand as well, because you're putting points into the graveyard, but you're not really seeing that value at the time. So then when people are making these crazy chain plays, you don't keep up, because it doesn't matter if you've buffed your graveyard if they're 30 points ahead and pass, and you can't catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, Queensguards is a tricky one. I mean,
Queensguard is rip.
Queensguards has always been one of the hardest archetypes to balance throughout the history of Gwent, just because every time you change the numbers on it, and they've changed the numbers a bunch. They've changed the numbers, they've applied the veteran tag and undone that a couple of times. Every time you change a single number, it multiplies that number by 9 already, right? Because there's 3 of them and you play them all around. So it's a really, really tricky card to balance, and they've tried a ton of different stuff. But we're even at the point where there's enough graveyard denial that it's very possible that even if they buff it up, it won't really be a threat. So, I mean, I'd like to see it being supported, like Petrify was saying, with some golds and silvers.
Also, one of the problems with Queensguard is if you make it too good right now, you can start Dopplering them, and then
yeah.
I mean, you just getting 8 Queensguards on the board is just insane.
Exactly. And Herbalist Doppler is one of the strongest things Skellige actually has access to. It's not really used that competitively right now, but I mean, it's something that is very much on the brink. Very much.
On the flip side, though, Queensguard counters Sweers, so I think we'll definitely see it at the tournament this weekend. If you don't have to put them in your graveyard, it's great. It's great.
You just play a Queensguard from hand, and you just, you're like, come on, Sweers me, dude.
It's okay. If they're playing Mill, it's actually great.